Hi everyone, I have a new experimental deck for you today to watch. This is a Ken Tenma deck and I'm going to play against HB Engineering the Future. This is my first run with the deck, so it's pretty unrefined. Now, if you remember, viewers choice 2, I was giving you the option of 3 different Ken Tenma decks and you all picked Ken Atman, which I've played to some success. But nagging behind me, I always wanted to try the Switchblade Ken. And too bad y'all didn't give me a chance, so I had to wait until now, where things have calmed down somewhat, and now I get to play Switchblade. Now the theory behind the deck is this: the only stealth in this deck is 3 silencers. So to make Switchblade economical in terms of stealth credits, I'm using data suckers to lower the strength of ice, so that I only need 1 stealth credit to break each sentry. My opening hand contains a lot of good cards. Double Data Sucker is awesome because it powers up my Switchblade, but unfortunately there's no money, so I had to mulligan, and my mulligan hand was much better. Sure Gamble is always great to see. Into security testing on first turn is fantastic, and a Data Sucker to boot. Now the only problem is I'm against HB, which is probably one of my worst matchups, simply because Engineering the Future decks tend to run a lot of ice. And a lot of annoying ice at that. So it's going to be very difficult to pull off security testings, which means that my economy is mostly stunted. That will kill my game. So I need to make the fullest use of my early game. So my first turn is a very basic turn, draw up and install stuff. I could attempt to face check, but nowadays face checking is almost never worth it, because in HB you have to expect Architect, and that will give the corp way too much tempo. Allowing them to install ice for free only makes my game much worse. So this is one of the reasons why I'm playing out of Ken Tenma as opposed to Gabe. Gabe will probably get richer faster, but if I'm too afraid to face check against corps nowadays, it's not going to be good for me. And he got a good start because of hedge funds, so you have to expect that he can rest every single piece of ice on the board, which is very worrying. Which means he can stop me no matter what server I attempt to security test. Here I attempt an archive security test, and I run face first into a victor. Ouch. Well, I'm definitely going to click through it. I'll still get my sucker token and my 2 credits, but that's about it. There's no more security testing this server. My job's done, unfortunately. So yeah, this is a horrible start for me. The only good news is that he's now down to 6 credits, because that victor is pretty expensive to rest. So I can actually apply quite a bit of pressure next turn, especially after seeing what he's doing right now. He's just wasting his entire turn drawing out with Jackson. He's not improving his board state. He's not gaining extra credits. Yeah, so I will attempt to force him to rest ice this turn, or leak accesses to me, or security testing to me. So the most logical place to security test is the remote server, and this is why I like to play this in Criminal, simply because you are able to place so much multi-server pressure early, and that should get you up to a respectable credit level early enough, such that you can snowball off thereafter and get all your entire rig out early, as opposed to Shaper, even though Shaper has Cloak, which helps with Switchblade. So, enough rambling. He allowed me to security test. He shuffled in Jackson, which he didn't have to, but whatever it is. I continue running. Hitting R&D, I bounce off the Eli. Then he lets me through HQ because he only has 3 credits left, and with my last click, I decided to draw with instead of running, because you have to figure that he dumped all his agendas with Jackson Howard. He's definitely not in the mood to score right now, because he knows that I probably have inside job somewhere in my hand. It's not safe scoring behind a single piece of ice, not with so few credits anyway. So he's not going to score anytime soon, and he made a huge error. He created a new remote server. So with my Desperado and security testing out, I'm going to gain 3 credits every turn. This is a huge mistake. This has huge ramifications for him, or rather for me, throughout the rest of the game. Getting 3 free credits every turn for a click is no small deal, and he allowed me to do just that. Huge mistake. Yeah. So yes, I decided to install the silencer thereafter because I had one click left. There was nothing else I could do. If I drew a card, I was forced to discard a card, and all the cards in my hand are cards that I want. So I can't afford to discard it. Yes, all my cards are so good, I don't want to discard them. Alright, so maybe he's not as foolish as I think, because now he starts installing lots of ice. So it's harder for me to get successful security testing off, because now I need to force myself to face check his ice, and he has 7 credits. I picked the empty server to security test, but first an account siphon. A blind account siphon, hopefully it's a Bioroid, seeing that his first 2 ice makes me think that it's a Bioroid, but no, it's a Fenris. Ouch. Burn. Yeah, the brain damage is very painful. As I said, I don't want to discard my cards because every single card in my deck does something useful, except for the duplicate copies of Desperado and security testing. Every other card I want to play, so brain damage limits the amount that I can draw each turn, and that really hurts. So yeah, not only that, my siphon fails. So now he's slowly getting up to speed with his economy, and that is what I want to prevent, because once he gets his economy, Adonis's or Eve campaigns rolling, and he seals up all the central servers, which he has already done, I'm screwed. Alright, I security test the server, he raises an Eli. I decide not to continue on with the run, even though it would be 2 clicks for 3 credits. I decided it was not worth it. I instead chose to build up my board state. This is very important because the brain damage actually snagged off my special order, and I haven't drawn a single breaker yet. So even though most of his ice is porous, I'd much rather break through with breakers. So now my absolute first priority is drawing into my breakers. That is my absolute first priority. Now he has 2 credits, and I drew the John Masanori, so I'm going to install John Masanori and get a free security testing from that, which was great. But I'm still languishing behind in terms of breakers. I need to find those breakers ASAP, otherwise he can just score freely behind remotes like what he did with the domestic sleepers. Yet at the same time, I don't want to spend 4 clicks a turn drawing, because that means I have to trash all my other cards in my hand, which I definitely don't wish to do. So every turn I aim to draw 1 or 2 cards with the help of John Masanori as well. Then hopefully I'll find my breakers. Now he makes life even easier for me by installing yet another new remote server. Again, huge mistake. Unless it's a Jackson Howard, which it isn't. So 3 free credits, 1 free draw, can't complain. And I drew into my singleton Blackmail. This is anti-Wayland tech that I didn't expect to see play for this game, but because he raised the Fenris to prevent my siphon, Blackmail has been turned on. I'm going to keep it in my hand as a silver bullet against him. Now I have 1 click left here. I decided to draw because I really needed to see that that breaker, and I've drawn through nearly half my deck. I haven't seen a breaker yet. This is asking for trouble. Yeah. Thankfully, it seems like he hasn't got up to speed with his economy yet, so I can actually afford to spend more time drawing, but I need to find those breakers quickly. It's definitely number 0 on my priority list, even above priority number 1 even. That's how desperate I am. Okay, well, now I have to play all the more faster because he just hedged fund into a restructure. So now he has 15 credits, more than enough to deny me set up scoring remote. So I immediately security test, and I'm up to 25 credits. And now, knowing that he has a lot of money to protect his central servers, I play the Maker's Eye while I can, breaking through his thinly fortified R&D and scoring 6 points. I basically won the game right here. Oh wait, punitive counter-strike. Uh-oh. A single punitive counter-strike won't kill me. 2 punitives will very well end my game. Will it? I think it will. Yes. Actually, I'm not very sure of the math here. I don't think a double punitive here wouldn't kill me. I have far too many credits for him to, even though he only needs to land 1 punitive to kill me, 2 punitives won't do the job, because, yes, I have 10 more credits than him. So, I basically scored the 6 points for free. That was huge. And considering that I only saw 3 cards, I got really, really lucky on the excess. That really shouldn't have happened. So that was very unlucky for him. And yes, he was running punitive all along. But I didn't have to worry at all because I had way too many credits. Once again, this was a huge mistake from him because he's installing so many remote servers, but they're doing nothing for him except widening the credit differential between me and him because I'm getting more and more security testings by the turn. So yeah, don't create remote servers unnecessarily. So he finally shows me what those remote servers are all along. Two EVE campaigns. This was definitely redundant. What he should have done was to put the EVE campaign, one of the EVE campaigns, into his scoring remote. There's no reason for him to rush scoring at this point in time. What you have to do against Ken is to suffocate him, ice up your centrals, get one remote at most, fortify one remote, and put your EVE in there. Make it taxing for the runner to trash the EVE. So, back to my turn. Once again, I get free security testing. And I throw into a clone chip. Nice, but not very useful since I don't have any breakers to clone chip. And then I trash the EVE because I know that economy is his number one worry. I know that's denying my own economy simultaneously because I rely on security testing, but I'm already so dang rich. I have 23 credits. Yeah, I can afford to let go of my security testing now because all I need is one more agenda to win the game. That is not a domestic sleepers. Yeah, so it should be obvious at this point that he's running the HB punitive deck, running all 3 pointers, and that will get him to 6 points, 6 agenda points if he scores 2 3-pointers, and he can just fast advance the domestic sleepers to round off the game for himself. Whereas for the runner, need to steal 3 of the 3-pointers. Now, here's what he does. He installs and advances once something in the remote. As I said, you should expect that this deck, knowing how this deck works, you expect all of the agendas to be 3-pointers. Single advancing an asset or agenda tells me that it's not an agenda because a single advanced priority requisition or Wotan wouldn't do you any good. So it had to be a trap. Of course I'm not going to run in there, it's a trap. And when he purged virus counters the turn after, that solidified in my mind that that was a trap, and it was something that I didn't have to worry about. So this was another mistake he made. Playing his deck inconsistently. You are telling the runner, hey, my deck is full of 3-pointers. But with the way you play, that's not the case. So you are giving away the idea that giving away the fact that it's a trap. Of course, he could be double mind gaming me. It could be an agenda that he advanced singly to make me think that it was not an agenda. But for the most part, there is not much point in doing so. He would be better off spending his time installing more ice or installing stuff like this, as you see here. What he did was to install an upgrade and another piece of ice on HQ. Very wise choice for the HQ ice. I could bring out a sentry breaker at any time to ruin his day with a Count Siphon. So yes, you cannot see an octagon, but there is an upgrade in the server with the single advance trap, or at least what I think is a trap. I draw into my legwork and not gonna get in. So instead, I start emptying my hand of cards, throw out the silencer, and I start charging Katie Jones. Now this is where Katie Jones comes in handy. No more free security testing servers. I'll have to rely on Katie Jones for money. Thankfully, I have 17 more credits in my bank. So it'll be a long time before I run out of credits, and hopefully by the time I run out of credits, Kitty Jones will be fat enough for me to pick off, and that should allow me to charge through for the rest of the game. So yes, he continues icing up the remote, so I know that he wants to get a secure scoring remote going. In the meantime, I prepare the Corroder, knowing that I would like to have the Corroder on the board so that I can easily break his Eli on the scoring remote instead of having to pay 2 clicks. Clicks are not necessarily something you want to play, especially with Enhanced Login Protocol on the board. Which, by the way, is a pretty useless current against Ken because I'm running all sorts of run events to circumvent the protocol. And I'm not security testing for money now anyway, so yeah. ELP is basically not affecting me. Although it really doesn't do much harm for him to throw it out. He's now pretty rich, and if I score the next agenda, I win the game anyway, so might as well triple me in any way he can. Alright, so he gets rid of the trap. It's pretty obvious it's a trap by this point. And he installed double advances, a card. Now, this looks like an agenda. That's more like it. Alright, so I know that I have to go contest it. And this is what my blackmail comes in handy for. I've been saving it up to this point for this purpose. But I need to consider what the upgrade could be. It could ruin my day. I'm guessing it's an Ash, so I first hit KT to bring myself to 22 credits. This will allow me to have enough credits to beat the Ash trace. Now I play the blackmail, I do a bit of math, and I realize that I can break with Corroder and still have enough credits to beat the Ash trace because I have 2 credits more than him. It costs him 2 to rest the Ash, 4 for me to beat the trace. So I need to have 2 more credits than him to win the trace, which by the slimmest of margins, I have just enough credits to beat the trace if he invests all his money into it. He decides to invest 12 credits into it, 16 credits in total. Now, if that is a trap, I could be pretty screwed because he still has an Eve running for money and his ID gives him money. I do not want to be stuck in a situation where I get hit by a trap and then have no money to recover thereafter. So here's what I do. I trash the Ash, I do not access any cards. I don't beat the trace. So I still keep my 16 credits, but I still draw a card with John Masnori and it's another copy of Inside Job. Perfect. Now, knowing that he only has 3 credits left, I install my Gordian Blade and Inside Job him, knowing that no matter what, I can get in because I can break all barriers and code gates. The only thing I need to worry about is sentries, and he only had 3 credits. He could not res any sentries. Rotor turret? No way. Fenris? No way. And that's what won me the game. So yeah, that was the game. In retrospect, there were a few critical mistakes that he made that cost him the game, but otherwise he was playing a very solid deck and he was doing pretty well. He managed to suffocate me. He did the right thing by icing up archives very early on and prohibiting me from getting archive security tests, which would have been huge. Data suckers are a key component of this deck's functionality, and being denied of free archives runs is something that could easily cripple me, which he almost did. Switchblade never came into play. I never really needed to check his HQ or to make account siphon runs, but in retrospect it would have been really nice if I had a Mimic at hand or some sort of other sentry, because at the end of the game I still only had 1 silencer on the table, and even that wouldn't have been enough to beat the Fenris without some data sucker support. So it's definitely some tweaking needs to be done with my Ken deck, but otherwise it's a good first shot. Thanks for watching and happy net running. I'll see you around.